All right, and here we are. Very good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for dialing in. It's been a while that I went live, but I just felt this evening to go live again, so I should probably do a better job of doing this more regularly. But yeah, if you're dialing in, thank you for joining. And yeah, obviously, I just want to do a little quick catch up, see 1 second where we are, how the markets are doing, and then obviously, as always, finish off with a bit of Q&A. So feel free to pop any questions you have in the chat box over here, and I'll get back to them towards the end of the live stream. So yeah, let's start off by looking at what's been happening around the market. A lot of things happening. Obviously today, one of the biggest news was, as always, every so often, every month now, the Federal Reserve in the US came out with the news that the interest rates remains steady. A lot of people were hoping that they would start to drop, because we know obviously with the low interest rate, that would obviously overall, bring more activity to the market that would be good for stocks and crypto, etc. But even without it, I think we're still seeing some good returns. I'll show you in a second where we stand year to date with the numbers. But yeah, despite them not dropping, unlike we've seen our colleagues we can see over here in Europe that have actually dropped their rates. For now, the US is holding on to the rates they're having. And you can see that over here, obviously, more or less all of them have been moving pretty much in parallel. Obviously, the EU a little bit later, a little bit less the increase. This is the interest rates over time. But yeah, they have now just recently dropped by a small amount, 0.25%, but it's a good indication that they are willing to lower the rates. And as we know, that will lead to so many other things, because obviously lower interest rates would make, mortgages more affordable for people, the interest to pay back the loan, so to say. So a lot of benefits to having lower interest rates. You can see for a number of years, it was close to zero. So yeah, we'll see. They said, obviously, they expected only to be dropped once in this year. So the hope was that it might, take until summer, but then at least 1, 2, 3 cuts in interest rates, because if they would only drop it by, let's say, 0.25%, that'd be very, very moderate. But again, hey, we take what we get. Overall, as a saver, of course, it's very attractive, because right now across most of my different brokers and banks that I'm using, I'm getting around 4 to almost 5.2% interest on my dollars and 4% on my euros. So it's nice to get that money in terms of savings. But yeah, overall, if you want to take a mortgage, as I said, a loan, that's very expensive these days. So there's a lot of repercussions on having high interest rates. So we'll see how that turns out. Looking at the market, obviously, the market doesn't seem to be impressed either way. You can see that right here. I mean, the S&P is just crushing it. Year to date, almost 14% up. So really, really strong performance. For the year, we're still up 25%. So I always used to say, year-on-year growth of 8-9%. Of course, that's the average. But still, the last few months have definitely been very, very strong. And it's always funny. It just brings back the point when people say, is the market overvalued? Kai, should I buy now? I think it's about to go bust. I heard that all along, the last few years. And I mean, we've just seen time and time again. I mean, just look at what we've been having over here. If I pull up, of course, Apple. Now Apple just came out of nowhere. They made one AI announcement, which honestly, I was quite underwhelmed, to be honest. I didn't really like that they partner with OpenAI, with ChatGPT. But well, I was wrong. I mean, look at this performance for the last few days since they did the announcement. We're up almost 13%. For the day, up 6%. I mean, incredible numbers, to be honest. So really kudos to Apple. And in fact, I believe they right now back on the #1 spot. Look at this. They, not so long ago, actually yesterday when I did my video on Apple, they were number 3. They jumped two places ahead again of Nvidia and Microsoft. So for a while now, Microsoft was the most valuable company in the world. But yeah, Apple, with a strong, announcement that they came out with all the AI things, which is actually really good. And to be fair, when I did a video on it, I kind of underestimated that the majority of the AI is actually happening on the phone from Apple itself, only for a few things that it can't do on device. It then sends it to the cloud, to OpenAI, to leverage ChatGPT's powers. So they still have a strong model themselves, which is good to see. But yeah, that news alone brought them back to the top spot. I mean, unbelievable performance. But yeah, nonetheless, obviously, the whole S&P has really been pushed, I would say, by those 3 companies over the last few months. So yeah, really some strong performance over there. And of course, I mean, Nvidia, we don't have to, we shouldn't forget about them. I mean, they've been doing extremely well. Look at their 1-year performance. 217% returns. I mean, that's like crazier numbers than in crypto, right? I mean, unbelievable. Year to date, 153% return. So, of course, sometimes people say, why you didn't invest? And of course, I would have liked to have a position in it. I don't. My biggest holding is S&P 500 as such. But even as such, I benefited because obviously they gave a strong boost to the overall index, right? And because they have a higher weighting. Don't forget, the top 10 stocks in the S&P, they have a much higher weighting than the 450th company in the S&P, right? So I'm really happy with those returns overall. And even you see after the stock split, obviously from this Monday, they did have the stock split, and you can see, so basically what it means, previously the price was around $1,200. So if you held 1 share worth $1,200, you would now have obviously that, divided by 10, which is now $120, or on Monday it was, but you would have 10 times the shares. So in the end, the total result makes no difference. But a lot of people, especially beginner investors and in general, people see a lower number. They say, oh, $125 for Nvidia shares, not so expensive, let's buy some. So that's what I expected, to be honest, that there would be a push because more people find it more attractively priced now, even though the market value, the pricing is exactly the same. It's just how you slice and dice it. You just have now more shares in circulation. So each share is worth less, but all of them together are worth the same. So yeah, just to keep in mind, but really once again, I mean, incredible performance over there. You always wonder, when I see those numbers, we're now at 3.3 trillion for Apple market capitalization dollars. Like, where does it go from there, right? I mean, it's incredible, but to be honest, I also said it when they first hit 2 trillion, and here we are, and not so long later, it's 3.3. So I don't know, probably we might be seeing 5 trillion, 6 trillion one day. I wouldn't be surprised, right? And let's not forget that the devaluation of fiat currency, dollar, euro, and so on, is also taking place. So naturally, 3 trillion today will not be the same 3 trillion 5 years from now. So there's also that aspect in there as well. So I think we'll definitely see even higher numbers going forward. Across the crypto markets, similar story over here, nothing too crazy. Last few days, a little bit up and down. We have seen the 30-day still for Bitcoin up 10%. So yeah, it's in many ways actually moving more and more similar to the stock market. But of course, if I compare Bitcoin, for example, with some of the stocks we just saw, actually, this looks pretty boring, right? Because yeah, I mean, the percentage returns of some of those top performers in the S&P definitely outperformed, at least for the most recent few days, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. But quite frankly, I think we'll see, we're not at the end of the bull market over here. I mean, we've seen some good price appreciation for what are we, if we go now to the last 3 months, pretty much sideways. So I think we started the crypto bull market, but I think we're not at the peak yet. I'm quite honestly, we just reached previous all-time highs, as you can see over here, where we were back in 21. So just, surpassed that recently. So I'm really confident that we're going to go hopefully touching close to the 100K this run. Again, we'll see. I'm long-term bullish on it. I keep on buying Bitcoins. I started dabbling around a little bit and trade some meme coins. Yes, it's not something I want to talk too much about because that's not really serious investing, and that's more like speculating. I know that, but I know that in the times we're in, where there's a lot of dumb money flowing into this, I've been doing quite well with that. But I know that's just, for a couple of days, I get some gains and then reinvest it either into Bitcoin or, of course, S&P 500. Something else interesting that honestly, you probably haven't heard too much about, neither have I. In fact, I only found it out due to an amazing YouTube video from fellow YouTuber Andre Jig about the end of the petrodollar agreement between the US and Saudi Arabia, which, since, many years, 1970 something, 1972, where basically Saudi was supposed to sell and price all the oil in US dollars. And they've done so ever since. But that agreement now came an end, and now they basically be able to sell their oil in any currency they wish, right? And that's a little bit scary for you people like myself who hold a lot of US dollars. and believe in USD. Obviously, it won't do nothing fundamentally overnight, but long term, it's a little bit of a diversification from some of those countries to maybe join other currencies, right? The BRIC countries, they're working together on that. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously, the US did it very deliberately to have the oil priced in dollars. That was giving the US dollar a strong edge. And let's be honest, it still is the global reserve currency. But that's just a little, part of the puzzle to move away from the US dollar dominance, potentially. Who knows what will come out? But very interesting also to see that this was not mentioned anywhere. If you Google this, you won't find any of the big publications talking about this, obviously. So we know why, because that's not something the US really wants to talk about. But yeah, interesting. And at the same time, they make a point here how that could potentially give a boost to Bitcoin in the future. Now, I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I think they just want to be able to diversify and work with the Chinese, with the Russians, whoever, to price the oil in their respective native currency to sell more of that to them. So I think fair play to Saudi in that way, to have the flexibility. But yeah, remains to be interesting. Long term, I'm still most bullish on the US dollar compared to any other fiat currency. But of course, as you know, you've been watching my video, ultimately, I think, some of those cryptocurrencies will definitely be a very important hedge against the further devaluation of those fiat currencies. What else? Another point I wanted to talk about is actually coming up tomorrow. The Tesla shareholders will be able to vote on Mr. Elon Musk's pay package. Now, it was an interesting story I read about, but back in 2018, basically, they were voting. When was it? Yeah, 2018, a shareholder meeting. There was basically an agreement that if Elon Musk with Tesla manages to achieve a significant, a lot of goals they had set for him, which seemed almost impossible at the time, he would get roughly a share compensation package worth, in today's terms, 46 billion. I've even seen it higher at 54 billion US dollars to be given to him. So that will be voted tomorrow. Now, initially at the time, everybody, you can see a strong agreement. 73% of shareholders says, absolutely. If you can do that for us, we will happily give those shares to you. So that's basically shares to him. It's not like somebody pays him, the company pays him the money. It's shares given to Elon Musk. But now obviously a few years later, initially, it was valued at 56, now it's 46 billion. Either way, that's a lot of money, right? That's more worth than a lot of companies on the stock market are listed. Now there's a huge fight going on, because obviously in recent times you can see Tesla didn't do that well anymore, and a lot of investors are saying, obviously over here, with Elon Musk being now so drawn away from Tesla to all the other endeavors that he's running across running Twitter or X, and then Starlink and the Boring Company and what else. I mean, I don't even keep up with how many companies he's running. So obviously he at the same time almost blackmails shareholders, saying, with less than 25% of voting control, he will not be as influential to run the company and therefore incentivized. So it's an interesting conundrum. Now, my first reaction is, of course, if that was agreed and the shareholders voted on it, then sorry to say, he should be paid accordingly, right? Because a contract is a contract, right? And he did a lot of good things. And just because right now the stock price is down, well, tough luck, but the agreement was made for a future date to be paid, and he hit all those targets. If he wouldn't hit them, it wouldn't have been paid. So yeah, I'm not sure why that is even up for discussion to say now it's excessive. Of course it's excessive, but at the same time, it was agreed previously. So remains to be seen. I think ultimately it will be passed probably, but he will have a lot of people definitely going against that and trying to not give up too much share, because obviously that comes out of their own holdings in a way, right? So it will be interesting to see. I think either way, to be honest, I think he should kind of more focus on running specific companies, because if he spreads himself too thin, we've seen what happens. I mean, most of his companies right now in recent times have really taken a dip, even those who are not publicly stock listed. So I think it's important for him to really focus, maybe less on tweeting and so forth, but really running those companies. Because initially also, I never invested in Tesla directly, but I was really excited for the company, what they've done. But yeah, they definitely right now, it feels like they lost a little bit the momentum. Chinese EV companies are coming over, they're price cutting, undercutting them, taking market share in Europe. I mean, I see mostly Chinese cars these days, EV cars, more so than Tesla. So, I love the company. I think they will do still great things, but I really hope that Elon Musk will commit himself to that. And I'm afraid if people vote against it and he doesn't get those voting shares, and shares in general that he asked for, and as he was promised at the time, then he might lose even more interest in the company, and that would negatively reflect on the share price. So yeah, either way, it will be interesting to see what will be the outcome tomorrow. But yeah, a company to watch, not something for me to invest in, but definitely to look on from the sidelines and see how it develops. Yeah, I mean, for now, that would be it. Let's jump into some comments if we have any comments. For now, none. So guys, if you have any comments, feel free to pop them in here. I'm happy to answer them. But yeah, overall, definitely some interesting times we're in. As I said, I mean, we're still talking about, potential recession and what have you and so on, and a soft landing. But overall, looking at the numbers, most of them are doing really well, right? So it's sometimes confusing to see what you want to do. And that's why when people say, should I sell, should I buy? I don't know. And honestly, nobody really knows, right? And that's why I'm a big fan of dollar cost averaging, continuing to invest every single week, every single month. And recently, I've done a little bit less of that because, as I said, I'm having a lot of expenses right now. We just bought an apartment. I had to pay annual rent in Dubai apartment for the whole year. So a lot of unforeseen expenses, I would say. But once I'm getting back to restore my emergency fund, which I think is the first priority in general, always to have cash on the sidelines, either for opportunities or for emergencies. To have that cash, and once I have that reserve filled up, then of course I'll continue to regularly dollar cost average, because yeah, while we are at the peak, as I showed you before, the prices are high, but who knows, maybe we'll keep on continue growing like that. Maybe not at 12%, for what is this, 4 or 5 months we've been so far in the year consistently, but still, maybe we really have a soft landing with a little correction along the way. And then if you would miss it out, right? If I would have not bought end of the year, I would have missed out on all this rally right now with Nvidia, with Apple, and I would have missed those gains from the S&P. Same with the Bitcoin gains that I've had when I bought a while ago, when I was a little bit lower than it is now. So I think it's important to just continue investing into assets that you genuinely believe in and we see long-term prospects. And that's, of course, not the case with meme coins. As I said, that's trading. Investing is very much different. For me, it's really long-term. Things I'm invested in: real estate, S&P 500, and maybe some solid dividend stocks if you want to invest in that. I still have a couple of those. They're starting to recover a little bit. I think as soon as we start seeing a drop in the interest rate, I think my REITs, real estate investment trusts, will definitely continue, rebound and do better. So that's why I'm holding those for now. I was close to selling Apple, actually. Happy I hold and I still have them. So I think I'm going to ride the wave, eventually exit out of them, and then diversify into the S&P there as well. Yep. What else? Do we still have any other questions? For now, I don't see any. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I just want to jump on here and kind of run you through the markets, give you a quick update. If you do have any other questions, let me know. I'll be making tomorrow another video where I might cover that as well. In general, I'll be probably doing a bit more news reviews. A lot of you have been asking me for that, so I'll try to keep a balance between specific topic that is kind of a problem that people face and a searchable thing that might come up regularly, and at the same time some more news related things which kind of hits the nerve of the time, so to say. So a nice balance and blend between both of those. Good. Well, with this, it's late over here in Lithuania. It's already almost 10:30, so I'm going to hit the bed to wake up early. But once again, thanks for dialing in. Wish you all a beautiful evening, and I'll speak to you very soon. Ciao.